Hi, hi.
Hello.
I'm back.
You're back with us. Thank God.
Why?
Thank
I
God you're here.
no, I thought you did very well without me.
Oh my gosh.
I
If
panicked.
I
I
have
was
to
like,
do it, I'll have
oh,
to do it.
well, I was thinking maybe there's no spot for me to come back to. Maybe it's just a solo show from now on.
Absolutely not. You were definitely missed. Don't do that to me again.
I'll try my best. But
How are
yeah,
you feeling?
man flu got me good. It's probably the first day that I've felt normal or like relatively normal and human again. So it's been over a week, so it was a good one.
What'd you
Uh,
have?
I actually don't know, but I suspect I had COVID again.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so stayed away from people and yeah, all
I
the
feel like
things.
it is going around at the moment. I've heard quite a few people having it. I'm still yet to have it in the so many years.
Really? Ah, you're one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Superior immune system, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. I don't know. It's pretty cool that I haven't because I feel like different.
Well, there's
Feel
just
cool.
stuff going around though. I think a few people have said like everyone's immune systems are pathetic now, thanks to a couple of years of no germs. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
yeah,
that's
it certainly seems that
everyone's
way.
it definitely is the case if everyone's been indoors for so long.
Yeah. But anyway, we're back. I'm feeling
I'm glad you're
human.
back. Yay.
So let's rip
I'm
in.
happy. I'm happy. So what were you doing over the last few days? Were you resting?
Well, no. Actually,
Mm.
this is good because this is actually what I wanted to talk about for a little bit today. So I didn't realize until I had a really nice conversation with someone a couple of days ago about just how bad we are at resting nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
for context, I had like multiple days off work sick, and I never have days off work. I hate it. One of the days I actually tried to go into work and was like, I'm fine, I'll push through, and then had to leave by like 10 in the morning. It was horrid.
I
Um,
know you struggle to chill. You always need to be doing something.
yeah,
You you
I'm
do
not
stuff
great.
till you burn out. You
Yeah,
do
pretty
stuff till
much.
you burn
Yeah,
out.
it's like push until you're done, and then you can rest after that. But I found myself on the couch for a couple of days, thinking, okay, this is rest. But I had my laptop on me, my phone was on me, and I was still trying to do stuff the whole time.
Mm,
And it was like, what am I doing? It wasn't until I had this conversation with someone that they basically like, we are so bad at resting nowadays that
yeah.
we actually can't just put all your stuff down and like have a nap on the couch or just watch some crap movie that you've seen 15 times before and just try and switch off. I am horrible at that. I was going to talk to you about it because I don't know what you're like, but I just can't do it. It's like I'm wasting time or yeah, I haven't quite sort of formulated exactly why it's a thing, but
Yeah.
I, it's definitely something I need to work on for sure.
It's a problem for most people though, I feel like, especially these days. I don't know. I feel like there's so much guilt for doing nothing. But the way I see it is because I'm so on the go all the time, like I'm studying, I have placement, I have to work, we had the podcast, you need to train, like you need to eat, you need to go to the supermarket, like there's so much to do. So when I do have those rare days where I might have a few hours to just chill and watch a TV show, like I don't feel as guilty, but there's always like something to do and there's always something on your mind. And it's not until you get sick or like your body starts telling you that you need to slow down. Like you start slowing down when it's too late, essentially, which
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, when you're sort of forced to, like your body
Yeah.
will force you to slow down. Is essentially what happens. Um,
But it's meant to be prevention. It's meant to prevent yourself from getting to that point.
yeah, which is a bit sort of ironic, isn't it? Because definitely have clients come in where I'm like, look, it sounds like you just need a decent break and some rest and some time to chill. Says me, who throws myself into a massive hole, and then he's like, it's fine, I can keep pushing through. And have people like you tell me you
Yeah.
do too much, so just relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But I
good.
mean, like, I'm like, you can say it's easier said than done. Like, I can sit here and tell you all, like, chill out, but like, then I need to take my own advice too and chill out.
Yeah. I would love to hear from anyone that has managed to implement some sort of like regular rest schedule or knows like the perfect point to which be like, I'm going to turn my phone off and turn off the laptop and do all the things and just like switch off. Because it was not so
Mhm.
much a physical thing, like well, I was physically tired, but it was more the mental side of it that just didn't stop. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if there's any listeners who have actually managed to implement something like that that's been quite helpful of just like, or is it just that, the discipline thing where you just put your phone away in a different room or something and don't look at it for a few hours and just relax? Or is it something like that? I'd be interested to hear.
I think you need I think it does have it does play a part, but another thing is, I guess, thinking of, I guess people these days think rest is going on your phone and looking at TikTok or like watching videos, but you have to like change your thought pattern in, okay, rest actually means not looking at my phone half an hour before bed and being okay with that, and like getting into bed earlier and dimming the lights, and like that whole routine needs to be the new like relaxed time, rather than, I guess, going into doom scrolling, which a lot of people do because they're so busy during the day that then they stay up too late because they're scrolling, because they want to find some time for themselves. But, and that's in quotation marks, themselves, time for themselves, when actually putting yourself into bed and getting a good night's sleep is should be seen as more like exciting and beneficial, which I've actually changed myself into thinking that way as well, because I do have really early mornings and I need to go to sleep early. So I don't even think of my phone as a relaxing tool anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. What have you actually changed though? Like, have you changed your sort of like your sleep routine or your schedule or anything like that, or was it more just like awareness that the phone was perhaps a tool of stress and
Yeah,
not
it's
something that
just
helps you
like
relax?
I just don't care about what the world's doing. Like, why am I looking at videos? Like, why am I associating that with relaxed time when all it does is keep me awake more, and then it stresses me out that I'm not asleep and I have to wake up at 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning. And I just think of it as, I don't care about what everyone in the world is doing right now. I need to get into bed. So it was more like my thought pattern around phone time before bed, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That's cool because I know like you word it like I don't care about like what's sort of going on or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
like, and like I'm sure you do. It's more like you you don't care enough about just some like garbage from
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
stranger on the other side of the world who's put out like 50 videos in a day. That
Yeah.
is that
I'm
sort of
like,
what?
what's important to me? What's important to me right now is getting good rest.
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
gonna help me perform the next day, like with my training, because I powerlift. So it's like I need to be rested, but I also have to study, I also have to go to placement. I have so many things. So what do I need to do that's gonna benefit me the next day? And that is get good sleep. And honestly, like, I don't love social media. So it's like I had to, like, I used to scroll quite a lot, and then yeah, changing that thought process and that thought pattern to the phone not being the main source of like going to bed at night and turning off the lights, and then let me go on my phone and scroll for a little bit, and then I'll go to sleep, you
yeah.
know.
No, the social media thing's massive because like I remember when we first started doing this sort of stuff, I increased how much well it was how much I was thinking about content was the thing where it was like
Mm-hmm.
how much content can we put out today? What are we doing? And it was this weird thing and this weird sort of realization. It was on my mind all the time. It was crazy. And it was like any
Yeah.
any like spare 2 minutes that I had, I was either looking at what we should be doing or like
Mm-hmm.
for trying to grow the podcast or um trying to create stuff out of like
Yeah.
essentially nothing to be like, okay, let's try and grow this thing. And it was constant. I didn't realize
I feel the same.
how kind of intrusive it is and
Yeah, I feel the
insidious.
exact same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like for someone that there's been a couple of times because usually I delete all my social media apps during uni. And I had
Yeah.
that thought the other day to delete it all because I just like don't love what it does to me. But then I was like, oh wait, I can't because now it's a source of like a business and the podcast and like I have to be around for it. And then I was like, oh my God, like you just don't realize. But I love doing it at the same time. That's the thing. And that's where it's like conflicting, but it does take up a lot of your mind. You're like, oh, what would people find interesting? Or like, I find this interesting. And then like, yeah, creating different posts and content and trying to be engaging. And so your mind's always on,
Mm.
especially if you're just trying to chill and you sit there and rest. You're like, oh, hang on, this is a perfect time to think of like what I can share with someone.
Yeah. Because you've freed up some brain space and then all of a sudden you've had the
Yeah.
thought that you needed. It's probably why there's been such a movement towards that like meditation, mindfulness stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like forced people into that sort of space, hasn't it?
Yeah. But a lot of the times people still can't stop thinking during the mindfulness. I'm not saying like shutting off their thoughts. I'm saying they're still thinking about the things they need to do.
Well, I actually can't. I can't do mindfulness
Mm,
practice. I attended a mindfulness workshop a couple of years back, and with someone, she was an absolute gun from the US who was running this thing,
yeah.
and we did a practice run during this course, and
Yeah.
my entire skin felt super itchy. It was like the weirdest response. It's like I had little bugs under it or something, and I freaked out a little bit because I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to happen. And then as we sort of unpacked the discussion, it was a bit like, well, this isn't for everyone, just so you know.
Yeah.
Like some people have sort of not adverse, but like, yeah, kind of adverse responses to this sort of stuff. And maybe
Yeah.
you're one of those people. I haven't explored it
As
further, but it was quite unpleasant.
yeah. As we've said, like any relaxation technique, like it doesn't work for everyone. There's people that it just fidget or it makes them more anxious. And I know for a fact with you it would not work because remember when we were 8 hours in the car
I
going
knew where
to
this was going. Yep.
the conference, all you did was fidget the whole 8 hours, like
Yep.
adjusting your seatbelt, moving up and down. I was just like, I thought I thought it was on a roller coaster at one point. Like you made me car sick from just watching you rock back and forth.
Because I didn't realize how bad it was. Because
Yeah.
I'd done that. I'd done like longer drives than that with my fiance on many
Mm.
occasions, and she never said
Hmm.
anything about it. And then I remember we were about like we were about like 4 or 5 hours into this drive, and you're like, "Oh my god, sit still!" And I didn't realize my seatbelt was making that squeaky noise every time I moved. So
You broke your
every like 10 minutes when I was shifting from one butt cheek to the other, it was squeaking my seatbelt, and I had no idea. And you're like, "Oh my god, stop!"
well, I think like at the start it wasn't squeaking, and then because you were doing it so much, you actually ruined your seatbelt. And I think on the way back, it just kept
Uh,
squeaking even more,
well, it
which
still
was
squeaks
so
to this day.
funny.
So yeah, thanks to that
And
trick,
then
I guess.
and then like even in lectures and stuff, like you'll be the person just standing up, sitting
Oh, I
down,
have to.
standing up,
I
sitting down,
can't. I
standing
can't
up.
sit still. I can't. I've always been that fidgety person. You know, like you bounce your leg up and down under the table and stuff. That was
Yeah,
me. Yeah, I'm fidgeting. I'm fidgeting with something right now. It's
I
constant.
can see. Yeah.
Jeez.
But anyway, that's funny. So you, with that in mind,
Mm.
and you getting sick and you needing to chill and lay in one position, it's not the right recipe for you.
No, that's a nice way of looking at it. I need a different type of chill, whatever that is.
Yeah. So what
Um,
would your rest be since you are so fidgety? Like what would benefit you?
it's a good question. I'm probably going to need more time to think about it.
Mm,
One thing I do like is, which is definitely not resting, but just like tidying things up and cleaning and things
hmm.
like that. But anything to do with the sun, that I think that's one of my biggest problems is like if we go weeks and weeks with no sun, I just get super like cabin fever. I'm like, oh man, just like get me out of the house, get me somewhere. So it's quite nice the other day. Like sun was out and I just sat in the sun for like 15, 20 minutes. That was elite.
Nature as well. So it's like pretty grounding.
Yeah. So just little things like that, but specifically not like I can't sit still. And if I am, I'm trying to do something else at the same time. So
yeah.
I thought I'd grow out of it, but 33. So
I think
maybe
it's just you.
I'll turn 40 and I'll finally chill out a little bit, or I'll just keep fidgeting.
I think there's nothing wrong with fidgeting. You'll be fine.
No, unless you bust your seatbelt 5 hours into a car trip that's 9 hours long and you give your passenger the shits.
It's what makes you you. And I accepted it after I knew what it was because I was like, what's wrong? Like, do you need to go toilet? Like, I'm very confused. And then I was like, you didn't even realize you were doing it. And they're like, oh, okay, now I feel bad.
He's just fidgety. Yeah.
He's just restless.
Yeah, this sums me up.
So in line with resting,
and fidgeting.
Started watching and fidgeting. I started watching a TV show a couple weekends ago, At Home with the Furies. It's on Tyson Fury. Have you seen it?
I haven't watched it. No.
I think you should.
Give us a rundown.
Yeah, I only say this because there's quite a bit of mental health in it. Right. It's a pretty good show. I think everyone should give it a watch, but just keep in mind a couple of the things that I want to discuss today because, I guess there's a bit of misconceptions around certain mental illnesses that he has. So he's been diagnosed with ADHD, bipolar, and depression. So you're watching the show and it all makes sense. He's very hyperactive, he's very impulsive, he's on the scale of ADHD, he's pretty high up there. And he does have bipolar, but you don't see it in there, except his wife kind of, in most scenes, she blames every one of his mood swings on his bipolar. So throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be really hyperactive and he'll come up with this crazy idea to go to Paris randomly in 2 seconds and sign and book flights and everything. And then the next minute something happens and he'll just like deplete in dopamine and just have a mood swing, right? And he doesn't treat her the nicest during this time. So I feel like the only thing she can blame it on is bipolar, but that's not how bipolar works. You don't have mood swings like that throughout the day. It just does not work like that. So I'm just worried about people watching it and thinking, oh, I have mood swings throughout the day and I get really like hyper throughout the day. Does that mean I have bipolar? Which is not the case. Do you know what I mean?
Just for, I suppose, just for a bit of clarity then, for people listening. So like, what is, because you hear it all the time, right? Like, oh, that person's so bipolar because one day they're happy and the next day they're not. What does it actually take to sort of, obviously get a diagnosis? You can't just throw things like bipolar around because it's just, I think we're sort of past that now. It's the same with OCD. Like just because someone's neat, and it's, oh man, they're proper OCD. So, geez, right? Like,
massive misconception there. Yeah,
I think we're past that stuff. But so just explain the sort of manic and then the depressive side of things.
Yeah, so I don't doubt that he doesn't have bipolar because he did have a really rough period and it did last quite a long time. That's like, I'm not saying that he doesn't have bipolar, but what is shown in the show and what his wife is blaming it on is not bipolar. So there's bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and hypomania. So bipolar 1 is at least one episode of extreme mania lasting more than a week. The depression is usually milder than other bipolar types, with some people not even experiencing depression. With bipolar 2, the manic episode is not as severe and it lasts at least 4 days. And then the depressive episode lasts a lot longer.
Yeah, okay.
And
So because
hypomania is kind of like in between both of them.
I feel like if you're just gonna kind of throw the word bipolar around, it's like you gotta be careful with that, right? Like, because it's a serious disorder and diagnosis.
It's
Like,
a
it's not just one of those sort of willy nilly like, it's all right. Like, it's quite serious and debilitating to people that
yeah.
have to try to live with it. Sprinkle some ADHD on top of that, and it's like,
Yeah. The depressive episodes last quite a while, like sometimes a month, and they're pretty severe. And a lot of people don't understand that just because you have bipolar doesn't mean you're always going to be in an episode, doesn't mean you're always going to be manic, it doesn't mean you're going to be always depressed. Like, you could go 2 years and only have one episode, and it's usually triggered by something, but it doesn't mean your mood fluctuates within one singular day. That's more like your ADHD and, being emotionally dysregulated and not knowing how to cope with that.
Because the ADHD stuff has, like, there's impulsivity with ADHD stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then there's also impulsivity with bipolar.
Yeah, in the manic episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can sort of see where people would probably get the two kind of mixed up.
100%. Yeah.
But
then I don't want people with ADHD, because I've heard this quite often of people with ADHD asking whether they have bipolar. Like, do I have bipolar? Because my mood's kind of, or before they get diagnosed with ADHD, they always like feel like they have bipolar because of the, rise in dopamine and then the crash and that kind of constant cycle.
Because this is such an important thing to talk about too. Like, so the two differences there, obviously, and both of them as well require assessment by a specialist. And we're talking like, and we don't use specialists for psychology because they get sad about that, but like a clinical psych and or a psychiatrist need to be involved in this process. So you don't just go to the GP and they're like, oh yeah, you got bipolar and ADHD, off you go, here's some meds. There's a quite a lengthy and expensive process that you need to go through to get these diagnoses. So the other thing too, I think is probably worth talking about is, because I hear this a lot, and tell me if you do too, is this, because we're all so distracted nowadays, everyone thinks they have ADHD.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't concentrate for more than, 15 minutes or whatever, like whatever people are coming at you with. I think I've got ADHD. Or like they're hyperactive and they're like, oh yeah, I've got ADHD. It's like, you can just be hyperactive, right? And excitable, and that's fine.
Yeah, well, also with social media, like especially something like TikTok or Instagram Reels, you're like constantly going through information like in split seconds. Like, you're scrolling so fast that you're processing or not even processing so much information. So when you have to sit down and focus on one task, it's so hard to do because you're so used to flicking through like thousands of videos, depending how long you're there. So of course you're not going to have motivation. Of course you're not going to be able to focus, and that's like a big part of it, I feel like.
One of my favorites is I just couldn't get my head right to do this task. And then you kind of unpack it a little bit, and it's like, did you want to do the task? And I was like, no, it sucks. I didn't want to do it. I was like, well, no wonder you couldn't concentrate on what you had to do, because you hated the thing. If you like the thing, maybe it would be a little bit easier to concentrate on. I find that with uni stuff 100%. If I'm not interested in the topic that we're doing or the assignments on, man, I'm dragging my feet with that one. But the second I've got interest in it, I'll hand that shit in like early, because I'm like, ooh, let's get that done.
Yeah. Especially if you don't understand something, like, you're going to have no motivation to do it. And that's like, I struggle with that all the time. Like, until I understand something, I'm like, I can't, I feel paralyzed to do this. Like, I actually get anxious to even look at it because I feel like I'm going to do nothing because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. So without sort of trying to sound like we're downplaying the potential diagnosis that some people probably, you may have, you may not. The point of this is, if you suspect that you may have ADHD or you might have bipolar, if you're around that sort of 15, 16-year-old, you probably have figured out at that point whether there are signs. just organize for an assessment. Talk to a GP, talk to a
Yeah.
psych, organize for the proper process to be done so that you know, because all the uncertainty I feel like is one of the worst parts of all this, where it's like, I think like maybe not.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of
If it
feeling your way around in the dark a bit.
Yeah, if it's impacting your normal level of functioning, like work with a professional. It is a quite a big process, but like instead of just guessing or looking online or watching videos, like go actually get it sorted. And it's such a validating experience, whether if you do or don't. And you might figure out that you have something else. That's always an option too.
It's like a mystery box. There
Like a
was
Kinder surprise.
Yeah. Have a guess. But it's a really good thing though, is that certainty of, and I've never had a client who went to get assessed for say ADHD and got a confirmed yes or no, and then was disappointed either way. It was like, you know what? I'm so glad it was actually a yes or a no, rather than sitting in
Yeah.
this in between, which is the worst bit. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, talk to people.
I know.
Talk to the
And
right people.
yeah, talk to the right people. Get it sorted if it's really important to you. But yeah, we don't obviously want to invalidate anyone experiencing certain things either. So that's not what we're trying to do. We just want everyone to have a little bit more awareness around the information being put out there because of social media these days. It's so easy to put out random information or take things that resonate with you. And we all do it subconsciously. Like
yeah,
it's so
I've
hard
been
not
guilty
to.
of it. I'm on my 12th year of university level study, and I'll watch a
Mhm.
30-second video on Reels or TikTok and think, oh, man, I fit that. That's me, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, you can talk from your own experience too, because we thought with your fidgeting, we thought, do you have ADHD?
Yeah.
And then, but we investigated it. We did.
We did. We asked a very senior and experienced psychologist through
Mhm.
ISN, absolute legend, and it
Legend.
took probably, well, the
10
discussion was a
minutes.
bit, yeah, it was a
It
bit
was really
longer than I
good.
thought it was going to be though. Felt like a day, but
Mm.
yeah, it was like no, it was one of the major categories that you essentially needed to tick the box on, and I didn't. So it was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. You can have symptoms of the thing without meeting the threshold for diagnosis. So
Yeah.
and that goes for anything that's in the DSM, a lovely
Yeah.
DSM.
And that's why there's so many overlaps with different symptoms and different disorders. So yeah, but that was a really good discussion too. And after you found that out, and after it was kind of like enlightening. You're like, oh, okay, this is actually good. I'm glad. I'm glad
like
that
a
I
lick.
did this.
Thanks for that.
Mm.
Cool. Well, I reckon that's probably gonna send us for today.
Yeah, so much fun. Good to see
I
your
kind of went a bit
face.
everywhere. That was good fun. I'm glad I'm back.
Yeah, I liked it. I know. Please
Good.
stay.
Well, I'll stay. I'll remain healthy.
Thank you. Get that rest.
I will.
Proper rest.
Thanks for tuning in, crew.
All right. See you next week.
Peace out.
Bye.